We all know that we need to save for retirement, no matter how old we are or how long we've been working. However, there are probably a few retirement facts that you didn't know, but you definitely should. So Colin Evans from Evans Financial Group joins us again with a few of those retirement facts. And Colin, these can be a little scary for some people who may not be ready to think about it.
These are, and I think I know this a little twofold of, I don't want to scare people, but I kind of do, because this is actually just a little hint of reality that I think sometimes we forget. When we put things in the back of our mind, like, oh, I'll do it later, procrastination kind of comes
shows up
into the key, and then you go, wait a second, where did this happen? How do we get here? It's just these statistics that Fidelity did nationwide and Transamerica about a year ago that were just phenomenal. And one of these that I had to throw out here is more than half of the Americans at risk of falling short of their retirement. Over half, 52%. And Fidelity actually did a scoring system. I'm not sure if they gave a quiz or how they did it, but they actually had a scoring system. The majority of Americans fell in a 78 percentile scoring system. And what that means is they get to retirement time, they're going to have enough, 78%, to cover their bills. So I don't think SWEPCO would like that. I don't think the water department would think, hey, I'm going to just cover 75% of that. Is that okay? Okay, this month? That's kind of scary, because you're going to have to be able to make up some of these things and some of these expenses. One in nationwide, one of the big scare factors that we're seeing is we're up to 75% of Americans don't think Social Security is going to be there anymore. 10 years ago, it was about 60%. So that number is actually ratcheting up, just because we're seeing the kind of the crisis that our government does with spending and rating the Social Security budget several years ago. That is a concern, especially when you see the statement that says Social Security runs out in. So that's really, a pay as you go into it. And a lot of people don't understand that, the people that are paying into Social Security now, like me and you, are paying for the current retirees that are taking it. It's not.
That doesn't mean it's going to be there when it's our
right.
turn to
It doesn't
use
mean
it.
that, it doesn't mean that we're putting in there and they're going to just hold that for us. So we don't know. So I can see where that fear comes into play. And this last one from Transamerica is 3 in 4 retirees regret their saving behavior. Now, I know we've talked about savings quite a bit, but getting into that, what comes into mind, and the interesting thing is, in the study from Nationwide, or Transamerica, was that people actually worried more about their debt, because they actually worked themselves into a little bit of predicament with some debt issues. And then you kind of become a slave to that. That becomes just a monster that's like, hey, I got to get rid of debt. I got to get rid of it. Well, what intends to start to happen is, as that falls into place, saving comes out of sight, out of mind, because we're worried about paying off the debt first. We can save later. If we flip the script, though, a little bit, saving first, you can get into the habit. While it might be painful first, but you can get into the habit of saving first and then paying yourself and paying those bills later. That'll make your life a little bit easier because you paid yourself first.
And it's really eye-opening. We talk about the fact so frequently, people are concerned now, myself included, that they will outlive their retirement fund.
Yeah, it is. That's actually almost every single year we've seen that statistic come out in a study that comes out. Different companies do it, and it goes anywhere from about 65% to about 75%. Fear running out of money in retirement, because you don't know how long we're going to live. So that's really the kind of the gusto of it. Well, where am I going to make it to? I got to have enough to get me there.
Exactly. There's a big window there that you're having to work with to try and figure this out. And that's why we have these conversations each week. It is a little scary. It's a little nerve-wracking, but it's important to have these conversations so you're prepared for the future.
It is just something to put in your mind. Just don't forget, this is something that you don't want to let get too far, in the back of your mind.
Gotcha. Well, Colin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us again.